In the busy royal capital, a bubbly young girl waves happily at the shopkeeper, who looks surprised and asks if she's not with her mom today. The girl lights up, saying her mom is busy chatting with someone, which makes the shopkeeper chuckle and tease that her mom must really love to talk. The girl pouts, insisting she talks way too much. Just then, a nearby boy calls out to Aoi, and when she looks up, a blinding flash of white light comes crashing down, completely wiping out the city. The crowd freezes in shock, realizing it's the Black Dragon, the Demon King's toughest lieutenant. Its roar shakes the air, making everyone drop to their knees in fear. Suddenly, an army of mages shows up, bringing a glimmer of hope. They form up and unleash a massive wave of magic that lights up the sky. For a brief moment, it seems like they might actually beat the dragon, but that hope quickly fades when the beast emerges from the smoke unscathed. The mages scramble to set up a barrier, but the dragon blasts a wave of flames that incinerates everything in its path. The commander's face drops. He knows it's over. Amid all the chaos, a lone boy murmurs, "This is the end." He activates the seal of the demon-breaking barrier and sends a glowing blast toward the dragon, calling down the grace of blessed rain. As water pours from the dark sky, it starts healing the injured, leaving everyone in stunned silence. The little girl looks up and gasps, pointing to the sky, claiming someone's coming. All eyes turn upward to see a shadowy figure descending. It's the Black Emperor, the most legendary adventurer ever. A wave of awe spreads through the crowd as hope flickers back to life. Up in the air, the Black Emperor summons the Divine Annihilation Spear, a swirling mass of dark energy forming in his hand. He puts everything he's got into it and launches it at the dragon, the ground shaking with the impact as the beast lets out a painful roar but stays standing. Not giving up, the Emperor focuses and calls forth black holes that spit out ghostly weapons. With a quiet promise to end this once and for all, he unleashes a non-stop attack from all sides, slicing through the dragon's tough scales until it finally collapses, lifeless, at his feet. A silence falls over the crowd before they erupt in cheers, their sadness swapped for awe and relief. As they move in closer to thank their hero, the Black Emperor takes a quick glance down and then fades away quietly. There's still some confusion in the air, but amidst the debris, a little girl watches in amazement and calls out his name with all her heart. When the lady in heels reaches the Adventure Guild headquarters, she rushes to the Black Emperor, eager to ask about the request she made. He simply whispers that it's all taken care of. Everyone around them starts cheering, and the lady's eyes widen with excitement as she can hardly believe he actually defeated the Black Dragon, especially since everyone said it was impossible. The Black Emperor responds humbly, saying it was nothing, that he's been training hard for this moment. She looks puzzled, asking if all the work he put in was just for the Black Dragon. His face falls, and he quietly tells her that it was part of the deal. If he took down the dragon, he could finally stop being a grade D adventurer. At first, she's thrilled for him, but then everyone starts to realize what he really means. The crowd starts to shout, demanding some answers. He tells them he's quitting grade O because he's done with it, handing over his resignation papers. The faces around him go pale with shock. This isn't just any rank. Only 8 people in the world hold grade O. His decision to retire is a big deal, causing nations and guilds to scramble either to stop him or lure him to their side. But no one can track him down. The Black Emperor disappears. Fast forward 3 years, and a guy stands on a cliff, looking down and taking a deep breath. He smiles, knowing he's finally made it, and that it's time to start fresh. The woman hands Mr. Blank his adventurer license, explaining that she's added some magical energy to it. She makes sure he knows it's his official card for taking on or reporting quests and emphasizes that he needs to keep it safe. As she hands it over, she asks if he has any questions. He shakes his head and thanks her for the help. Lena introduces herself properly this time, apologizing for not doing it sooner, and gives a warm welcome to Claret from the Kingdom of Rurate, wishing him luck on his adventures. Getting the license marks the beginning of a calm chapter in his life. As he strolls through the town, Claret feels a nice sense of peace, really enjoying how chill and quiet it is. Compared to the Radiola Empire, where he used to live, the biggest nation on the continent and home to the Adventure Guild headquarters, this place is like a breath of fresh air. The capital city was always buzzing with activity, and the crowds often wore him out. It's been 3 years since he started this new path. To keep his past identity as the Black Emperor under wraps, he switched up his fighting style and picked up a sword, putting in a ton of time to get good at it. Ideally, he wouldn't need a weapon in this peaceful life, but it's necessary for staying low-key. A wave of pride washes over him as he realizes he's finally reached the rank of a grade 10 adventurer. As he strolls by the city gate, the gatekeeper waves and notes that his registration went smoothly. Mr. Blank turns to thank the old guy who had helped him find the guild earlier. The man wishes him luck and mentions that the town is right next to the demon forest, saying it's a good thing to have more adventurers around. Blank looks a bit puzzled, and the man picks up on that, explaining that the forest is home to one of the 5 demon kings, with the second demon king supposedly nearby. Blank jumps in, saying he already knows this, especially since the forest is so dangerous that even gathering herbs can be deadly. He feels a thrill at this news. Clenching his fist, he realizes this means there will be plenty of low-level jobs available, exactly why he decided to settle down in this country. He says goodbye to the old man, who reminds him that everyone is counting on him. With determination, he heads off to his next task, realizing that though he came here with a request, the bigger issue is something else entirely. When he reaches the real estate office, an older agent welcomes him. As Blank explains what he wants, he mentions that he's looking to buy a house. He knows most adventurers focus on monster hunting and spend their cash on gear, often ending up in inns or temporary places. Owning a home is pretty rare, usually only for elite teams, but he thinks having a place to call his own is super important, a lesson he learned from his mentor. Sitting down, he scans through the paperwork, recognizing that he still doesn't fully get the feeling of ownership, even after racking up quite a bit over the last 3 years. The agent asks what Blank is looking for, and he mentions he wants a bigger house with a bath. The agent digs through his files and brings up a place that matches, though it's a bit outside the town near some plains where there might be monsters roaming around. Blank is on board with it, and when he checks out the house, he feels a little uneasy, but thinks it's not too bad compared to living way up in the mountains. After taking a good look around, he tells the agent he wants to buy it. The agent grins widely, obviously thrilled, and thanks Blank, admitting that finding a buyer hasn't been easy because of certain issues. He asks how Blank wants to handle the payment. Blank pulls a bunch of coins from his pocket, hands them over, and says he wants to pay up front. The agent's eyes light up at the sight of the gold, while the property owner is so stunned he hardly knows what to say. Blank can feel the tension in the air, making things a bit awkward. Once everything is squared away, he plops down on the sofa, thinking about how he just dropped 1,000,000 belks. Carrying around 1,000 gold coins is definitely no joke, but for a place this nice, especially when he compares it to the 10 billion he spent taking down the Black Dragon, it feels like a steal. He gets up and checks out the upper floor, noticing the display area is maybe a bit much, but he's never been a fan of cramped spaces. Glancing at his adventurer license and seeing the grade 10 label makes him smile. He's finally hit grade 10 as an adventurer. When Blank joined the guild, a lot of people brushed him off because he was on the shorter side, but one woman told him to ignore their narrow views and focused on making an impact. She encouraged him to let his actions speak for themselves. Taking her advice, he worked hard to build his reputation. One day, the woman, sitting by a window, called him over. She gave him one last task as her pupil, to take down the Black Dragon, the servant of the first demon king. If he pulled it off, he'd gain his freedom. Blank felt a bit unsure and wondered if the task really mattered. Yet he remembered his mentor's advice and decided to commit to it, tackling every request and finishing every job without complaint. While wrapping up a completed mission one day, he spotted a group of young recruits playing nearby. Curious, he asked the guild leader about them. She apologized for the racket, explaining that they were new members fresh out of grade 10. The kids were buzzing with excitement as they chatted. She mentioned they weren't ready for big quests like monster hunting yet. Instead, they were gathering herbs and cleaning up the city. Blank watched them with skepticism, thinking that real adventuring was all about battling creatures and exploring new places. Did what they were doing even count? Just then, an elderly woman came by and thanked the kids for their help. The kids lit up, happy to be of service, and said they'd happily do it again if needed. Blank thought about it. Those herbs turned into medicine, and clean streets helped keep everyone healthy. Even the small stuff made a difference. He realized he had been so focused on just killing that he had missed out on the little things that really mattered. His idea of what it meant to be an adventurer hadn't changed, but he started to wonder if what he was doing even mattered. All his achievements felt empty since they were just about helping nobles who had no one else to turn to. His fist clenched in frustration. Then it hit him. Who was the real errand boy? Watching the happy kids play, he understood that what he really wanted was to help others, but his status meant he was still stuck with noble tasks flooding in. The guild rules didn't let him take on smaller gigs. Suddenly, he remembered the face of his mentor, and a single word popped up: freedom. He looked at his adventurer's license. Maybe his mentor had seen this coming. Sitting quietly, he took a moment to reflect. It was about healing. He'd lost his sense of self since joining his master. He couldn't remember his past or who he really was, but that didn't matter anymore. The past was gone, and what he had now was the ability to make choices. The choice to help, to live freely, to follow what felt right in his heart instead of just following orders. Blank keeps glancing at his adventurer license over and over. It finally hits him that he's a grade 10 adventurer now. He rummages through his almirah, thinking about grabbing a request. Excitement bubbles inside him. He can't just sit still. As he reaches the door, he decides his first day of freedom has to start right. He swings it open and steps outside, looking up at the sky. Meanwhile, a woman is just chilling in a chair. She calls out to someone, commenting on their stubbornness. The guy in front of her asks if she knows why they're so fixated. She smirks. He says she's about to spill the Black Emperor's location, calling her a sword saint. She laughs and tells Vulcan, the chairman, to just give it a break. It's been 3 years, she points out. The man is visibly shaking with frustration. He bangs on the desk, shouting that she's right. 3 long years. He emphasizes that she's his master, pounding the desk again. He brings up the pile of requests he has waiting. The woman tilts her head, asking why he's so obsessed. There are other special great adventurers he could work with. Vulcan shakes his head, admitting he can't. She smirks again, correcting him. No, it's not that he can't. It's probably that he can't get them to listen to him. She challenges him to prove her wrong. His anger flares up. Who does she think she is, threatening him? His body shakes, his heart races, and his breathing gets shallow. He realizes he can't keep his cool. Even as a top adventurer, he's never felt this kind of pressure before. This is what sets Grade 1 apart from Grade 0. Cluel keeps a close eye on him. She claims she's only here out of obligation because watching him feels pointless. The old man grabs his chest and insists that's exactly why they need the Black Emperor, a top-notch adventurer who still takes on their requests. Cluel erupts in anger, yelling that being strong doesn't mean he should be stuck running errands. She stomps her foot down hard. He's never had a mind of his own, she snaps. Leeches have used him and worn him out. Grabbing Vulcan by the chin, she reminds him she pushed him to become an adventurer to help him find his own strength and purpose. Her intense gaze makes it clear. He was never meant to be a tool. Then she shoves him back, declaring that now that he knows what he wants, no one has the right to interfere. She strides toward the door, but Vulcan calls after her, insisting they're not finished talking. She brushes him off. The sun hits her face and she pauses, thinking about what he's up to. As long as he's doing okay, she figures she's done her part. A faint smile appears as she considers visiting Blank next. Meanwhile, Blank is standing in front of the request board, scanning the jobs. He's looking for something to kickstart his new life. The feeling of freedom is both strange and thrilling. His hand hovers over a task, and he knows this is where a new chapter starts. The request board has a bunch of easy tasks like shopping, cleaning, and helping out with events. Blank looks at the board and realizes there are a lot of unclaimed requests. He starts to think that grade 10 jobs aren't super popular. Since this is his first task, he notices others are going for monster hunts, even some lower-ranked adventurers. He figures that most hunt requests usually start at grade 9, so he picks an assignment and heads back to the Adventurer Guild to hand it in to Lena. She gives him a smirk when she sees the request and says she'll take care of it from now on. She puts it in the box, and Blank is a bit puzzled. After closing the box, she tells him his request has been accepted and is recorded on his license, which he can check whenever. Blank is shocked as he looks at his card. He's never seen request processing done like this before. For his first task, he needs to collect Heria grass. He asks Lena to show him what it looks like. She holds up the grass and explains it has these twin split leaves. Blank leans in and takes a whiff, but suddenly a sharp pain hits him. Lena notices right away and asks if he's okay. He tells her he's fine, but the pain feels oddly familiar. Every now and then, random info he shouldn't know floods his mind. This time, he picks up on the right way to harvest the grass and how to make poison from it. As useful as it is, the headache isn't something he can get used to. He apologizes for worrying her, and she just smiles and brushes it off, wishing him luck with his first task. While wandering through the forest, Blank is on the lookout for some grass. After a bit of effort, he finally finds a ton of it. With all the knowledge that's filled his mind, he knows how to cut it without messing with the roots, so it can grow back later. That headache he had now feels like a good thing. Once he finishes harvesting, he takes a moment to check out his surroundings. Out of nowhere, a slime pops up. It might seem weak, but it's still a creature tied to the Demon King, and they usually don't like humans. If you underestimate them, they could sneak up on you. Ready to attack, the slime makes its move, but Blank stomps it down, thinking it picked the wrong fight. He takes a look at what's left. Even though he could sell it, money isn't a concern for him right now, so he just leaves it behind and gets back to collecting herbs. He fills his pocket to the brim, enjoying the scent of what he's gathered. This should be enough for today. He tends to get a little carried away and gathers more than he actually needs. The plants are strong, so over-harvesting isn't really a problem. Still, he hopes that nobody turns down the stuff he's brought back. When he walks into the guild, Lena is there to greet him with a warm smile. She comes over and asks how his first request went. He says it's all done and shows her what he collected. Her eyes go wide with shock at how much there is. Blank chuckles, admitting he might have overdone it a bit. Lena blinks in surprise, clearly amazed that anyone could gather so much, and laughs, calling him a bit odd before saying she'll take a closer look at everything. While he's waiting, he catches bits of conversations around him. Some folks are talking about weird stuff happening in the demon forest, and others say that stronger monsters are popping up, with growls even echoing in the town. There's a lot of skepticism. People aren't sure if it's just gossip or something serious. One guy is teasing his friend, who looks a bit spooked by all the talk. Blank turns back to the request board, scanning for something new to tackle. He's already plotting his next move, eager to keep the momentum going. He knows this is just the beginning of his adventure. After checking out the grass, the lady eagerly grabs Blank's hand and tells him that everyone is really impressed with his harvest. He smiles, happy to hear that. She explains how he worked super hard to gather it since nobody wanted to deal with the stars, which created a shortage. She wishes other adventurers had seen how important it was. Blank listens quietly, getting where she's coming from. She thanks him again, saying that because of his hard work, they can finally fix the shortage. Composing herself, she gives him a new card, congratulating him on finishing his first tasks. He bows a little, showing his gratitude. After he gets the card, he steps outside, chuckling with pride. He feels really accomplished. People around him give confused looks, but he hardly notices. Excited, he decides to take on another request the next day, thrilled to finally be a certified errands guy. The next day, his task is to find a lost cat. The cat turns out to be pretty mischievous, hiding in all sorts of random spots. Blank realizes that animals, just like monsters, often react to him with hostility, which bums him out since he hasn't done anything to upset them. He feels bad for the cat and figures he should probably steer clear of this kind of job for now. But the lady is over the moon when he brings the cat back safely. After that, he heads over to see Belmo, the leader of the Belmo Trading Company, who asked for his help. The job is simple: load goods onto the wagon. Blank is the only adventurer willing to take it on. Money isn't a big deal for him, so he doesn't mind the hard work or the low pay. The old man sighs, wishing more adventurers would step up, but he admits that fighting monsters is just way more exciting. He has a quick chat with Blank before telling him to get to work. Blank lifts the heavy boxes like it's nothing, leaving everyone amazed. At one point, he refers to the old man as Mr., which totally catches him off guard. The old man looks surprised and says there's no strict way to do things, so Blank can put the boxes wherever he wants. He's a bit worried that Blank might be pushing himself too hard, but Blank assures him it's no big deal. He even mentions that the boxes are pretty light. The people around him are watching in disbelief. Blank tells everyone to stop just standing around and pitch in. The old man, still shocked, warns him not to overdo it. But Blank's attitude fires everyone up. They all get to work harder, not wanting to be shown up by this scrawny adventurer who's handling everything like it's a piece of cake. An accident is about to happen when Blank suddenly dashes forward and saves the girl. He watches as she catches her breath and silently thanks him. Then he turns to the shaking old man to check if he is all right too. The merchant rushes to look over his goods and asks Blank for help. After checking everything out, Blank confirms that nothing is damaged. Once they are done, the old man is super happy, not just that his goods are safe, but because his workers are okay too. He is amazed by the strength of the little adventurer and even offers Blank a job, thinking he'd be a perfect fit. Blank appreciates the offer but politely turns it down because he likes his current lifestyle. The old man feels a bit sad but promises he'll always be welcome if Blank ever changes his mind. Blank feels proud knowing someone recognizes his worth beyond just being a fighter. From that day on, he decides to help as many people as he can, even with small tasks. After doing a bunch of errands, he gets promoted but turns it down, which surprises the receptionist. She questions his choice, and he explains he likes being at grade 10. The receptionist scolds him, saying promotions are automatic and can't be avoided. When Blank asks if there is any way to put it on hold, she says no, following the guild's rules. Her words hit him hard, and he slumps down, sniffling in frustration. It feels like his dream of being a grade 10 adventurer is taken away from him. Lena is shocked by his reaction and points out that most people work there for promotions. Blank agrees, saying some enjoy being grade 10. She scoffs, insisting he is the only one who feels this way. Frustrated, he claims that many understand the glory of that rank. Lena reminds him that adventurers are supposed to help people. Grade 9 adventurers protect citizens from dangerous monsters, keeping everyone safe. She gives him a serious look, emphasizing that their main purpose is to help others. Blank's eyes go wide, and her words make him think. He slams the table as he considers her point. Then she smiles at him, saying he can still take on the grade 10 tasks while sticking to his herb gathering. A wave of relief washes over him, and he agrees. She asks for his card to update his status and pulls out an intriguing box, handing it to him while praising his advancement. He notices a hint of discomfort on her face, and she realizes he is still feeling uneasy. She offers him a chance to rethink the request. When he hesitates, she sighs, saying she thinks he is okay with it. He admits he is fine but isn't feeling quite right emotionally. She clarifies that is why the guild has registered a new grade 10 adventurer. Just then, a bubbly young girl bursts in, full of excitement, asking if Lena can be her mentor. Blank is taken aback, realizing that his promotion means not only achieving grade 10, but also having a junior disciple to guide. Blank quickly turns down the offer, leaving Lena panicking and wondering why he's refusing without any explanation. He explains that he's still kinda new to all this and doesn't feel qualified to teach anyone else. The receptionist jumps in, saying he really should take the task since it's a guild request and he has some responsibility for the situation. He looks confused, so she adds that his choice of all grade 10 jobs means others can't move up. Blank pipes up, saying he's not taking every job out there. The receptionist gets it, but points out that the jobs he avoids are mostly animal-related ones. She explains those come around rarely, depend on luck, and have a pretty low success rate, unlike gathering grasses or herbs, which are easier and help rank up steadily. Blank starts feeling guilty, realizing that instead of helping, he might actually be making things harder. Lena tries to cheer him up, telling him he hasn't done anything wrong and that they really appreciate all the hard work he's put in. She praises the herbs he's delivered, saying they have a great reputation. Still, the guild wants him to share what he knows. With a smile, she expresses their hopes for him to pass on his skills. She hands him the compensation paperwork, saying the guild will pay him fairly for the task, and jokingly suggests they might even promote him. When she asks if he'll take on the job, Blank hesitates, thinking it might be weird to teach stuff he doesn't fully understand. But since he feels partly responsible for the issue, he decides he can't just ignore it. He turns to Lena and agrees to take on the task. The girl lights up with joy, bows deeply, and introduces herself as Aria, super excited to learn from him. He's a bit taken aback by her formality and tells her to relax. She laughs and insists he should stay formal since he's the teacher. A spark of enthusiasm lights up in his eyes as he sees that same excitement in her. Lena gives her a special card and tells her to keep a close eye on him, mentioning that though he's skilled, he can be a bit unconventional. As they walk through the forest, he asks how much she needs to know about gathering herbs. Unsure about calling her by name, she insists it's cool to call her Aria and admits she only knows a bit about Hiria grass. Blank decides to start with that, and she gets excited, quickly picking up a plant and asking if it's the right one. He confirms it but corrects her technique, explaining that pulling it up with the roots can mess up its growth. He bends down to show her the proper way. She watches with bright eyes, calling him clever. He explains how to store the grasses but warns against it. When she asks why, he tells her they're common and don't need the extra effort. Once he finishes, he stands back up and asks if she wants to learn more. Pride shines in her eyes. She praises him, saying he's amazing, just like Lena said. Blank shakes his head, claiming it's just basic stuff. She laughs, impressed that even simple tasks need some care. He nods, warning her not to underestimate the easy things. Small mistakes can really come back to haunt you. She giggles, curious about where he learned those lessons. He starts sharing all kinds of information about different grasses, patiently passing on knowledge like a true teacher. During the teaching session, Blank gets distracted by this weird voice for a second, but brushes it off as just his imagination. After finishing some other tasks, he gets bumped up to the grade 8, but all he feels is anxiety, especially with grade 7 coming up. He freaks out and asks if he can skip the promotion test, but she sighs and tells him he can't because that's just not how it works. Then she drops a bombshell. One of his students has zoomed up to grade 9 thanks to his dedication. He figures she'll be feeling as down as he is, but the receptionist says she is actually pretty happy about it. She points to the wall, explaining that what starts as a trial is now being seriously considered for the training program. Blank isn't in the mood to celebrate and just says he is glad it makes a difference. She is all smiles, wishing he'll finally accept a combat request one day. People around him start murmuring about how he's the mysterious errands guy, the kinda adventurer who avoids combat, which is why others who join after him move up to grade 7 before he does. They are curious about what he is even doing as an adventurer when the guild still values him. Recently, they even ask him to mentor a cute girl, shocking the other adventurers who think that is totally unfair. Lena listens in while Blank stays clueless, still worrying about the nickname people might give him. When they leave, Lena looks at him, thinking what a strange guy he is. Suddenly, someone surprises her from behind, asking if he is the one from the gossip. Rina gets all affectionate, saying he is such a quirky character for not reacting to all the chatter, and she laughs with confusion in her eyes. As Rina walks to the desk, she decides that the name people give him kind of fits, which annoys Lena, who tells her not to put him down since he is actually helping them. Rina points out that he always looks down and is low on energy, with messy hair all the time. Her eyes light up with intrigue as she admits he is not bad looking, but his vibe just ruins it. She figures with his attitude he is definitely not dating material. Lena explodes, telling her not to judge him like that. Rina isn't having it, explaining that the whole point of working on the guest is to find someone like him. She blushes a little while talking about other adventurers with perfect looks and great grades, then mentions how tough her life is because Lena reminds her that one of her crushes is transferring. Thinking about it, Rina realizes she never asks Lena something like this and wonders if there is someone Lena likes. Everyone nearby is shocked. Rina asks if Lena would pick based on quality, saying it is smarter to go for promising low to mid-rank adventurers. Lena shouts that she hasn't thought of it that way, but Rina pushes on, asking her to think about the type of person she would go for. The adventurers eavesdropping peek nervously, hiding behind desks, while Lena figures out Rina won't let it go until she answers. Finally, she admits that if she has to choose, she picks a low-rank adventurer. Rina keeps pushing, thinking about smart picks, and Lena panics, insisting that's not what she means. She explains she just wants to marry someone who isn't always in danger, which shocks her friend, who wonders how someone like that would make money. Lena smiles and says she can adjust to that because what matters more to her is just being together. Lena's response has a lot to do with her dad, who expired during a mission. Even though everyone says he was brave and honorable, all she really wants is to be with him, not money or any kind of fame. Rina gets where she's coming from. Then she suddenly brings up the errands boy, thinking he might actually be a decent match. But after turning down her previous request, she still thinks a guy with no future isn't the best choice and doesn't seem reliable at all. She really wants her friend to pick someone who'll make her happy. Meanwhile, Millie approaches Blank and asks him to join her for something, but he quickly says he can't if it's a combat mission. She reassures him it's not. It's just to collect grass that only grows in the demon forest, and she's super nervous about going there alone. Blank appreciates her asking, noting he hasn't been there either. Arya jumps in, apologizing for interrupting him, but says he shouldn't feel pressured. She just wants him to tag along if he has some free time. To her surprise, Blank agrees and says they should head out now. She's shocked by his enthusiasm, being just a grade 8 adventurer is tough. Shoving her doubts aside, she reminds herself she wants to get stronger and feels more determined. Suddenly, Blank catches up to her, cheering her on, which freaks her out a bit. They start walking side by side, and he apologizes for making her carry stuff, but she says it's no big deal. He mentions they should move fast since he doesn't want to be out too late. In the forest, it's dark and the atmosphere is heavy. Up on a branch, a girl feels completely hopeless, mumbling about how impossible things are. She can't believe they're going to deal with something hidden under the branches of this crazy tentacle tree. All she wants is a peaceful life, and she silently asks the 6th Demon King not to stir up any trouble. Somewhere far off, Arya hurls an energy sphere at the dragon, which drops down lifeless. Blank watches her and can't help but admire her skill. She laughs and brushes it off, saying it's no big deal since she's been training hard to be an adventurer. When she notices the monster's levels, Blank realizes even newbie adventurers could take them on. He moves closer and asks if this has always been her dream. She nods and reveals that her village got attacked by a black dragon 3 years ago. Blank thinks about this and starts to get it. He remembers how she thought all hope was lost back then until the Black Emperor swooped in. She was so hyped that she told him everything, and after seeing him, she swore to become an adventurer who could protect others, just like him. That was when the Black Emperor became her inspiration. Lily's heart races, wondering if he's motivated anyone with his past deeds. Millie, who's overheard all this, turns to him and asks if he's okay. He reassures her he's fine and gives a shout-out to her sword-fighting skills. Suddenly, she leans toward the woods and realizes they've stumbled upon the olum trees. Meanwhile, Blank is still processing everything. Grabbing one of the fruits, she asks if there's anything special she should know, but he says they're just ordinary fruits, so she can handle them carefully. As Blank looks up at the darkening sky, she notices that the energy in the air is way stronger than that of the black dragon. He agrees he's not imagining it and wonders if this could actually be the aura of the 3rd Demon King, though he feels no hostility, which makes him question if that's normal. He tells Arya they should head back to town before it gets dark, but he wants to take a closer look for a bit longer. Then, in one smooth motion, he gathers a bunch of fruit. At the guild, everyone is blown away by the huge haul. Blank picks up one fruit and checks out how much sturdier the orange stems are compared to the olum, which makes them tough to pull off. Out of nowhere, a farmer walks up, praising his awesome work and even inviting him to team up since he's helped others before, but he decides to pass for now. After running into the city guard for the first time in ages, the old man admits he's been working way too hard. He lists off all the stuff he has to do and stresses the importance of taking breaks. Blank, however, isn't feeling it and claims he isn't really stressed out. The old guy encourages him to check out the town since it's really great. Blank thinks about it, realizing he used to be way too busy to enjoy it, but now he's ready to give it a shot. Then a guy shows up with a meat skewer, saying his stand is one of the town's must-tries. The elder chuckles and warns Blank not to fall for it, calling it just a sales gimmick. Blank jokes about it, but the vendor insists he's totally serious. After hearing both sides, Blank decides to wander around. The vendor laughs and suggests he should enjoy his snack while walking, even offering him another skewer. Blank excitedly asks if it's really free. The vendor says it's because Blank has helped him out, and the locals really appreciate what he does. He mentions that thanks to Blank's huge supply of herbs, they whip up a ton of healing potions, so he's giving him the skewers as a thank you, saying they're counting on him down the line. Blank takes a bite of the skewer and can't believe how good it tastes. He's really loving the flavor. While the vendor talks about his adventures with monster hunting, Blank thinks about how he hasn't had food this amazing before. It makes him wonder why his life feels so dull, and he figures it must be because of his master. He feels like he owes her that much. The vendor goes on about how much he admires monster hunters, but Blank jumps in, saying running errands can also be pretty fun. The vendor and his friend exchange looks, finding him a bit odd. Even Lena seems worried about him. Out of nowhere, a huge crowd gathers around Blank, showering him with gifts for all his hard work. By the time it's over, he's a bit overwhelmed with supplies. Then one vendor laughs and asks if he wants to buy some flowers, since that seems to be the only thing missing. Blank tells him that's not necessary because the gratitude he's getting is what really matters. Suddenly, he remembers something and asks if any veggies can grow in a home garden. The vendor lights up, wondering if he's thinking of starting a backyard garden, and he says yes. She thinks it's an awesome idea and suggests he plant tomatoes now since they're nutritious and easy to grow. Excited, Blank heads home to start planting them in the soil. He's feeling good about picking up some new knowledge in Hindi, which gives him something fresh to look forward to. When he finally gets home, he realizes it's the first time he's felt this relaxed, and he treats himself to a long, hot bath. So, while he's chilling in the bath for the first time ever, he's finally embracing what it feels like to relax. He sinks into the water, thinking about all those little things he usually brushes off because he's just too laid back to care. But right now, the only thing on his mind is getting back to work tomorrow. The next day, he's pumped about the gathering request. Lena, noticing his excitement, laughs it off and tells him that all that motivation seems to be going unnoticed. She mentions that Arya took the same request a while ago, so he might bump into her out there unexpectedly. Then she gives him a heads up to stay sharp because the forest can be dangerous. As she walks back to her desk, she can't help but feel a little nervous about Lily, even though she tells herself she doesn't really care. But before she can think more on it, a guy rushes up to the front desk out of breath. Suddenly, this adventurer bursts in, panicking and shouting some bad news that gets everyone's attention. He reveals that a tyrant golem has shown up in the forest. Instant chaos breaks out as folks freak out when he mentions it's right at the entrance. Everyone's stunned because it's totally weird. Usually, the highest grade monsters hang out deep in the woods, so a grade 3 popping up right at the entrance is just unheard of. Everyone's whispering nervously, realizing they don't have any adventurers above grade 3, which makes things pretty tough. Suddenly, a guy with a mustache shouts that it's a state of emergency. He tells all adventurers from grade 8 and below to steer clear of the forest and orders those in grades 7 and up to get ready for city patrol and defense. Panic sets in as everyone worries about their leader, who used to be a grade 4 adventurer, but they know they have no choice since it's a mandatory request under the gold contract. Just then, Lena runs up to the leader, saying she recently sent grade 8 and 9 adventurers into the forest. The leader flips out, yelling at her for acting out of line since only grade 7 and above should be involved. She tries to explain that it's for the fruit collecting task happening at Great Night, and the lower ranks are supposed to focus on hunting in the plains to level up first, which is bad timing right now. The leader gets even more anxious, especially since the errands guy usually loves taking on those kinds of jobs. He appreciates their effort but insists that if that's all they're doing, they won't be effective in battle. The receptionist jumps in, noting that while the girl sometimes takes hunting jobs, the guy doesn't. She points out that he's carrying a sword, but it doesn't look like he's ever drawn it, which freaks her out a bit. The leader grits his teeth, clearly annoyed, and apologizes to her. He explains that they can't worry about the low-rank adventurers right now. She starts to panic, insisting he can't be serious, but he stands firm, reminding her that she knows it's true. In a situation like this, they just can't spare resources to help them out. At the very least, they can keep an eye on things while they figure out what's going on, since adventurers are expected to take care of themselves, and protecting the town comes first. Meanwhile, Millie, hurt and sitting under a tree, realizes she doesn't want to die here. Tears well up in her eyes as she calls out to the Black Emperor, staring up at the massive, scary creature looming over her. Somewhere in the forest, Blank is on the hunt for herbs and trying to find Millie, but she's nowhere to be seen. He's totally confused. If monsters are munching on the herbs, there should be some tracks or clues around. He starts to worry if something could just completely disappear in this place. Panic kicks in as he realizes he might actually mess up his first job. Frustrated, he yells out that just when he's starting to build his reputation as the go-to-errands guy, this happens. He keeps shouting about how he can't afford to let down the guild or the townspeople. Even though he's aware there are powerful monsters around, it still surprises him. He thought creatures above grade 5 weren't supposed to show up in this forest. Peeking through the bushes, he spots a huge creature and, after sizing it up, figures out it's a great tree, a massive wood element monster, like a giant plant golem. It's been sucking up all the magic and life energy from the surrounding trees, which explains why the mana-dependent plants are withering away. But he's confused about why he didn't see this thing earlier. Panic creeps onto his face, wide-eyed as he realizes he can't get his job done with this beast in the way. Determined, he decides he has to take it out fast so he can get back to what he was doing. Out of nowhere, he spots someone trapped under the creature. Panic rushes over him, and he calls out Millie's name, his voice shaky. Without thinking, he slashes the monster into pieces, freeing her and hoisting her onto his shoulder while he finishes off the rest of the golem. When he sets her down gently, he quickly presses some healing potions to her lips and holds her close to help stabilize her. Even though he's never needed them for himself, he's really glad he always keeps top-notch healing potions on hand. Feeling a bit lost, he tries to remember a healing trick his master taught him, but it slips his mind. He figures he'll just carry her for now and ask her about it when they meet again, knowing the most important thing is getting her safely back to town. Just then, he sees a huge burst of energy explode nearby, and his eyes go wide. Dodging the attack, he jumps up, holding Arya in his arms. He's totally taken aback by the chaos happening in the forest. When he lands on a rock to steady himself, it hits him just how serious things are. After he sets her down in a safe spot, he thinks that if it were just one monster, he could chalk it up to a stray from the deeper woods. But it's clear this is a much bigger deal. Out of nowhere, a rocky creature hits him from behind. He grabs Arya again, avoiding the blow, and realizes just how huge the thing is. He's never seen a golem-type monster that moves in packs, let alone coordinate their attacks like this. He starts to wonder how they can be so smart. Just when he feels trapped between two of the beasts, it hits him. Someone's controlling them from a distance, and he's right. A woman with a dark vibe is gesturing toward them from afar. Apologizing to the girl, he puts her down and promises to wrap things up quickly, telling her to stay strong. Drawing his sword, he jumps into the air and starts taking down the creatures, realizing their hits are pretty powerful. He figures that as long as they can't hit him, it's all good. After dispatching them, he goes back to get Millie and jumps toward the mountain. He notices that while the monsters aren't quite at master level yet, they're still pretty tough. Looking at the pile of defeated monsters, he feels unsure about what to do next and thinks about just leaving them there. Suddenly, Lena shows up with the leader, both looking pretty freaked out. She asks if he took down 3 of them all by himself. A bit flustered, she admits she had no clue about his abilities, tells him he's now promoted, and says he can't go for low-level requests anymore. She insists he should start thinking about all the noble commissions piling up, but that just makes him more anxious. He definitely doesn't want this, so he decides he needs to erase any trace of what happened, no matter what. He spots the girl and realizes she's seen everything go down. Even if he takes care of the bodies with his sword, that magical energy lingers, making it impossible to wipe everything clean. Only the special elemental magic that only he can use would do the trick and leave no trace at all, but he's frustrated, remembering that his master has banned him from using it. But now, feeling like he's out of options, he sighs, thinking the girl is out cold and no one else is around. If he just cleans up quickly and splits, it should be fine. As he lifts his hand to get it done fast, he suddenly hears something, his eyes going wide. He wasn't expecting to deal with anything else. He looks around and can't help but notice that the energy in this place is on a whole different level compared to the Tyrant Golem or the Black Dragon. The magic here is way thicker and more intense than anything he's ever faced, not even close to a grade 0 threat. Something in this demon forest must be really powerful because as he steps forward, he feels a huge wave of black magic. He watches as a strange creature picks up bits of stone and shapes them into a giant monster. Panic hits him when he realizes that the leftover pieces from the last golem have fused together. It's the first time he's ever seen anything like it. The golem blasts out this massive wave of energy, catching him off guard as he quickly dodges, sword drawn. The only thing he can think is that it must have soaked up all that dense magic to toughen itself up. But once he gets a grip on what he's up against, taking it down doesn't seem as impossible as he first thought. Using it as a punching bag to blow off some steam from his messed up mission, he starts hitting its stronger spots, smashing stones and sending it crashing to the ground. Since his regular attacks aren't doing the trick, something he expected, he figures if the golem's powered by magic, then all he really needs is some stronger magic to finish it off. In the end, he wraps up his attack, and the monster goes down without a trace of anything useful left behind. Standing there in the clearing, he glances up at the sky and realizes he's pretty lucky to have wiped out all the evidence. Back at the guild, a guy is waiting and looks super ticked off. He's ranting about how some kids from grades 9 and 8 had the guts to show up again. Blank just stares at him, totally lost and not even sure who this guy is, while the guy glares at him with all kinds of anger. Meanwhile, Arya wakes up in a strange room with her head pounding. She sits up and sees Lena walk in, looking all worried, a bit disoriented. Arya remembers the last thing that happened, running into that creepy golem, and starts freaking out. She shouts about it, but Lena rushes over and tells her to chill out, that she's safe now. Arya lets out a sigh of relief and asks if anyone came to rescue her. Lena explains that no one did, it was Blank who saved her. Before she can really wrap her head around it, chaos breaks out outside. Shouts echo through the guild as the leader rushes in, tears streaming down his face as he hugs Lily tightly, overflowing with gratitude and apologizing for not getting there sooner to help. He insists that even though Blank is an adventurer, he's one of them too. Arya just freezes, her mouth hanging open in shock when she realizes it was Blank who saved her. Lena jumps in to confirm he was on a mission in the demon forest. Arya can't wrap her head around the fact that he actually defeated the golem. She just can't believe it. Lena sits next to her, gently nudging her to share what happened. As Arya talks about how she got hit by the golem while trying to dodge it, she remembers that Blank showed up just in time to save her. She can't really believe it though, since he's never taken a combat request before. Both girls quietly agree that it must have been Blank, but Arya also mentions that even though she was with him, she'd never actually seen him fight. According to Lena, they saw a battle from town, which means someone must have taken on that creature, and since Millie's injuries are completely healed, that person also helped her out. Arya suddenly realizes she's not feeling any pain at all and starts hopping around, trying to guess who could have done it. Lena says they really don't know, but thinks it could be a high-rank adventurer nearby, maybe a rank 0 who's always on the move. Millie's thoughts jump to the Black Emperor, but she shakes it off, deciding it doesn't really matter who it was, she just needs to thank him. She steps forward to show her appreciation to Lily, who's flying through the sky with the leader's help. But Lena reminds her that he's busy and they should hold off for now. After a bit of celebrating, Blank heads back to the desk, looking for another mission. Lena explains that once he levels up, he can start taking on combat requests in the demon forest when he hits rank 5 or 6, which makes Blank really frustrated. He's annoyed that the incident from a month ago is still under investigation. Lena tells him the forest is huge, so it's no surprise it's taking a while, and even though the mission is a big deal, she has barely anything for him to do right now because of the shortage. Then, out of nowhere, she pulls out the promotion exam application and asks why he doesn't just go ahead and apply. Lena opens her eyes and realizes he's already left. Lily feels a sense of unease and understands that what happened in the forest was way more than just some ordinary golem stuff. With no plans waiting for him, he figures he'll head home to work on his garden. But then a thought hits him. If he just sits around doing nothing, everyone, himself included, ends up with nothing to do. He questions if that's really how a self-proclaimed adventurer should operate, especially someone who's supposed to help others. His inner voice pushes back, saying if he takes care of the real issue himself, everything else will sort itself out, and his errands will stay on track. Moving quietly, he slips through the city gate without anyone noticing and ducks into the bushes to keep a low profile. The forest stretches out in front of him, and he thinks about flying for a quick getaway, but decides against it because he might get spotted. Instead, he takes off running, convincing himself that no matter how big the forest is, he'll get to his goal if he just keeps at it. Halfway through, he notices some monsters heading his way and immediately recognizes the rank 6 rock grizzly that Arya had mentioned, its presence radiating danger. He dodges its attacks, silently apologizing to the beast as he pushes on, promising himself to face it again later. As he makes his way forward, he runs into a rank 3 chaos monkey, a tyrant golem, and a bunch of other threats, but he brushes them off, just keeping his focus on pushing deeper into the forest. Soaring up into the sky, he notices that there are so many monsters starting to get in his way. It's weird to see creatures above rank 4 here, considering they usually don't show up this far out, probably since the town's adventurers haven't explored this area yet. Even though he's only at rank 3 himself, if he keeps running into tough opponents like these, he's going to need at least rank 2 level skills to find his way safely. Every little detail reminds him of his training, bringing back memories of those intense lessons where everyone kept pushing him, asking if he actually thought about giving up. Looking back, he realizes that the last 3 days have completely worn him out, way more than any kid should have to deal with. His body is shaking from exhaustion, and he's gasping for air as he tries to take in just how huge this forest is and the crazy magic at its heart. Now, being deep in this place, he gets that he's stepped into a whole new level of danger, one that even his guild would be nervous to face. He's standing there, watching the giant blank petals float by, feeling the weight of the 3-day trek it took to get here. After all that effort, he figures the person he's looking for should at least show up. Out of nowhere, the ground suddenly gives way, and he jumps just in time to avoid a massive leaf crashing down, landing back on solid ground while muttering about the dramatic welcome he just got. In the middle of the swirling petals, there's someone sitting there, giving off this vibe that he totally recognizes. She knows him, no doubt about it, but something feels off. She's studying him, and he decides to confirm her hunch, cautiously asking if she's the 6th Demon Lord. She just freezes, looking both confused and a bit freaked out, wondering how a human could have such a strong presence in her territory. Blank frowns, feeling confused. He had always known there were just 5 Demon Lords, yet here they all are, seeming to get along. He really hopes they can talk it out and avoid any drama, especially since she's known to be friendly with humans. Still, she looks a bit twitchy because of his sword. Why would a 6th Demon Lord even need a weapon? That same thought hit her when she saw him take down that tyrant golem a few days ago. Lily, not really aware of what she's thinking, apologizes and admits he doesn't get it, asking her to explain. She takes a deep breath and says that the last 6th Lord was a whole different story, created out of hatred for gods and stars, a bundle of destructive magic with no real thought or purpose, just there to cause chaos. Now she just can't wrap her head around why he's even here. To figure it out, she decides to take matters into her own hands. She stands up and turns into this monstrous creature with flailing tentacles, making Blank grit his teeth in annoyance. He knows talks aren't going to cut it anymore. He swings his sword, cutting through the tentacles that come at him, realizing that this isn't a foe he can beat with just brute force. Her speed and reach make it clear she's still out to get humanity. Now he has to change his strategy. With one clean strike, he forces her back to her original form, and she locks eyes with him. Despite 3 years of training, he feels totally overmatched, and a wave of dread washes over him as he imagines how his master would react if he saw this whole mess. Blank calls forth the god-slaying spear, her focus sharpening as she looks around the empty space, realizing she can let loose her magic without anyone watching. She's ready to attack when a voice cuts in, saying something feels off. Confused, he glances at her hand, and notices a hint of the 6th Demon Lord's power, but it just looks like a basic all-element spell. Blank jumps into the air, getting ready to strike and asks about his intentions, but she throws the same question back at him. Tentacles whip violently around her, forcing him to see that even though magic has more reach than a sword, he's still in a pretty tough spot. He's trying to talk things out, promising he can get her answers, but she just stays quiet, making him freak out as he realizes even Demon Lords don't have endless mana. Looking for a break, he gets ready to attack, but she surrounds herself with a crazy mass of writhing tentacles, and his eyes go wide at what's happening. He quickly activates the absolute demon-severing barrier, bracing himself as the tentacles close in, wrapping around him completely. Just when it seems like he's done for, she shoots him a grin that warns him of her control. More tentacles from behind grab his legs, leaving only his eyes showing, a real show from the heaven-stealing demon tree. She smirks and asks if he's ready to chat. Stuck inside, he slashes away at the squirming limbs, trying to find a way out, but they won't budge. Even that fused tyrant golem had crumbled under his strikes, but this time his sword just isn't cutting it. He glares, finally realizing that the mana flowing through this cocoon is way stronger. She's used up a ton of her energy to put up this entangling barrier, but his reserves are still off the charts. Trying to break free, he summons a tornado, and with one powerful strike, a huge wall of flames bursts out, engulfing everything. When the fire dies down, he looks around, squinting in confusion at what's left, knowing that this fight is way tougher than anything he's ever faced before. As the flames die down, Blank stands there, totally frozen. He's shocked that nothing got wrecked, even after pouring out as much mana as the demon did. Outside, the woman gives off a powerful aura, showing just how pointless regular magic really is. It's the same stuff that was used to seal the sixth demon lord. Frustration builds up as she brings up the sixth demon lord. He can't quite wrap his head around what she's saying. His stomach starts to turn. His current magic feels off. Something isn't right. All he can think about now is wanting to head home and chow down on some grilled skewers. He's radiating this intense, strange energy. The demon lord flinches, clearly surprised. Energy flows through him, and the lance of endings lights up. He strikes from the pit, stepping out and giving a fierce glare as he lands. The woman notices how worn out he looks. He's almost out of mana. She realizes she's at a disadvantage and walks closer, a knowing smile on her face. Blank starts to freak out, realizing he's let his guard down. Her touch reveals the truth. He's carrying the heart of the sixth demon lord. Confusion hits him hard. She laughs, remembering how they thought the heart was completely gone and never thought it would actually survive in a human. She walks around him, checking him out with curiosity. Suddenly, everything clicks, but he's also super frustrated. He tightens his fists, trying to wrap his head around it all. He's never even heard of the sixth demon lord before. She takes a step back, clearing up the messed up magic and showing what the sixth demon lord really is, a threat not just to other demon lords but to humans, gods, and the whole planet. Blank stares, shocked. She moves in closer, checking how his mind is reacting. He instinctively pulls away, not ready to trust someone who just tried to take him out. Her look softens as she assures him she didn't mean any harm. Blank grabs his chest, admitting he doesn't really get himself. Maybe that's why everything seems so messed up. He clenches his fists, thinking that if his master isn't worried, then he shouldn't be either. The demon lord raises an eyebrow, looking intrigued, then leans in closer, keeping her cool. The big question now is whether he's her enemy. She lets out a little, knowing laugh. The demon lord cracks up, finding him hilarious, and floats away. She tells him to chill out, promising she won't mess with him or the townsfolk again. He sighs, feeling frustrated, and wonders if he can ever trust her. She pulls back her tentacles, saying this was just a one-time thing, and she only strikes if someone attacks first. If she really wanted to cause havoc, she could have wiped everything out whenever she wanted. He reluctantly agrees with that. Maybe she's not into chaos after all, but he's still puzzled. If she's not after destruction, what's with all the chaos? She gives his hair a gentle pat and says she was just curious about where the sixth demon lord's power comes from. Now that she knows he doesn't have a will or intent of his own, her interest starts to fade. He warns her not to get closer, but she steps forward anyway, noting that he prefers peace. Unlike the sixth demon lord, she admires that he relies on himself, never attacks her, and respects life. This makes him chuckle a bit. She notices and admits she loves peace too, feeling like they're kindred spirits. But she warns him that if Lilith finds out about this, things could get complicated. He looks confused. She introduces herself as the first demon lord, ruler of dragons and beasts, and laughs about how much she hates the sixth demon lord. This makes him uneasy. His expression darkens when he realizes someone really hates him, even though they've never met. She explains that her anger comes from the death of someone she cared about 3 years ago, which makes him curious about why someone could inspire such hatred. She apologizes for not remembering the details clearly and warns him not to be shocked, promising that if trouble comes, she'll step in. He looks her over, a bit flustered, as she smiles and says her name is Knuckle. He introduces himself as Bran. She heads back to her space, telling him he can stop by whenever. He nods, saying he might if he's up for it. She double-checks to see if he's serious. He stops, remembering the long 3-day trek back and just wanting a chill life. As he strolls through the forest, thoughts of home, grilled meat, and his garden pop into his head, and he shakes it off, annoyed at the drama that always seems to follow him. When he gets to the guild, both women greet him, pointing out that it's been a while. Lena mentions the forest has settled down over the last 3 days, so he can start taking requests again, no matter his rank. That brings a smile to his face. Lena chuckles, teasing him about jumping on a request right away. He turns them down, just wanting to take a bath. The women are pushing him to hurry up, saying that the bathhouse is big but fills up fast. He's a bit confused and frowns. Lena jokes about how he's never been to one before. The other woman jumps in, saying it's spacious and cozy, and leads him there. He sinks into the water, letting out a happy sigh, feeling like he's hit the jackpot. They explain that the volcanic activity keeps the water naturally hot and clean. Even though it's crowded, it's the perfect chance to unwind. Someone mentions how popular he is, and he laughs, agreeing that the hot springs definitely have their appeal. Still, he knows that nothing beats the comfort of home. Coming back to a place like this isn't so bad after all. Meanwhile, the two women are enjoying their private bath, finding it funny how noisy the men's section is getting. The scene shifts to the Lydian Empire's Black Forest. After slicing through a bunch of monsters, the girl puts her sword away, wondering why she's not retired from adventuring yet. Dealing with first and second rank threats every day had been such a hassle, and she had been craving a quieter life for a long time. Now, standing on the bridge, she reflects. There was a time she thought about leaving the country altogether, but the Empire decided to hold off on searching for the Black Emperor, asking her, the Sword Saint, to step in and take over his old role. The guild couldn't afford to lose her, even though she could easily have moved somewhere else, and it was annoying that she had to bear this burden. She really didn't want that guy getting into any trouble if he came back. She remembered him and what he'd said. Looking back to the day he got out, she thought about Lily and how 3 years had passed. He had changed a lot, and she wondered if she ever really thought about how much he'd matured emotionally since they first met. Somewhere else, she got a letter while in a meeting. When she opened it, she saw it was from the Demon Blood Society. One of the guys pointed out that she was spot on. There was a group trying to mix humans and demons to create a whole new species, and they were going after both people and demon kin. This organization was super dangerous, and countries all over the continent were taking it incredibly seriously. She felt a chill just thinking about kids being kidnapped and test subjects treated like garbage. When she got assigned a task, she knocked it out of the park right away, and everyone praised her, but she just told them to cut the compliments and let her know what the next target was. When she got to the spot, an old guy showed up, chuckling. She told him not to get too cocky, but he said the figure behind him was his greatest creation, his final weapon. Frustration hit her hard as she realized it was just another test subject, and the world's cruelty was weighing down on her. Then the kid transformed, unleashing a crazy amount of raw mana that almost knocked her off her feet. She laughed at the challenge, knowing she had to hold back but couldn't go all out either, or the kid's life would be in jeopardy. The intensity of the magic made it clear that the world wouldn't let such a dangerous being roam free. Even though it was risky, she rushed over to the kid, realizing that his potential had been taken advantage of, but now it was in her hands. She managed to subdue him, making sure he was drained of mana and couldn't move. Then she held him securely. The kid was actually Lily. Looking up at the sky, she thought about how he only knew the life of an adventurer, but powers like his always attracted those wanting to use him. Still, she felt a sense of comfort knowing he had discovered his own will and purpose. He'd be all right in the end, because he was her disciple. Sitting down, she wonders what fun stuff he's up to right now and hopes he'll fill her in on everything when he comes back. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of Verate, in the town of Curate, Blank is laughing at a board full of requests. He realizes he's never appreciated how great and valuable everyday life can be. It's an important lesson, and she'll need to report it to his master. Just then, he feels someone staring at him intensely, and when he turns around, there's a kid looking at him as if he could eat him alive. The boy thinks Blank is nothing like him and believes he'll level up quickly, become a true adventurer, and rake in a ton of cash. He yells at Lena, asking her to just give him an 8th rank request already. He's frustrated, saying if he finishes it, he'll finally get promoted to 7th rank. Lena tries to keep things cool, explaining that she gets his frustration, but all requests come from the clients, and they can't just make them up. She points out there are plenty of 9th rank requests around, including some pretty risky hunts and high-stakes missions he might not be considering. Gadgel yells at her again, saying that's not what he wants, and asks her about the forest. She reminds him he can't go there because of the accident. Low-rank adventurers are still banned from that area. He argues back, saying it's been investigated thoroughly and they haven't found anything new. Lena glances at the leader next to her, and out of nowhere, he yells that the ban on the Forest of Evil is off, but he warns everyone to report any weird signs immediately, business as usual. The guy gets pumped, but then the leader leans in and whispers to Lena, telling her to hurry up. She nods and points out that the only request available right now is an 8th rank one for gathering fruit. He freaks out, asking if there aren't any monster hunting quests. She tells him no, and if he's not up for it, he can go look for something else outside the forest. She's quite straightforward about it. In the end, with no other choice, he sighs and agrees to take it, just asking her to hand over the paperwork. Once they hit the forest, he's all over the place, fuming that after finally getting a request, it's just an errand. He tries to pump himself up, thinking he'll be done soon and get back to everyone, but then it hits him. There's no fruit around. He mutters that he could just grab any random fruit he spots and wrap this up, wondering why it has to be this tough to find stuff. At this rate, he's convinced he's going to flunk the request. He noticed an area that seemed empty, probably since the outer spots had been cleared out. Figuring he'd find something deeper in, he headed further in, but still came up empty. He really needed to find something soon and get back. Out of nowhere, a huge creature that looked like a frog charged at him. He freaked out, realizing it was a mad frog and estimated it was an 8th rank, so he thought he could take it down. Pulling out his sword, he went to strike it, but then completely panicked when the monster grabbed him and stabbed him, sending him crashing into a tree. Now he was hurt in his mouth and lying on the ground, completely worn out and trying to recover. Suddenly, a sixth-rank assassin snake shows up. The boy freezes, realizing that the crazy frog from earlier must have been taken out by this thing. He gets it right away. He's gone too far into the forest, and he stands no chance against such a tough opponent. Panic hits him, and he tries to run, but his body just won't move. It feels like it's all over. Then, out of nowhere, a huge blast goes off around him, sending debris and light flying. He's left in shock, totally unable to process what just happened. He's been saved. His mind races. The forest was supposed to be clear, but someone stepped in. There's no sign of anyone nearby, and that thought scares him even more than the snake. All he wants is to get home and be safe with his family. From the shadows, Blank appears, looking calm and collected as he takes in the boy's messed up state. That's when it clicks. This is the adventure he knows. Confusion and relief hit Gagel as he tries to make sense of everything. Blank grabs him by the collar and shoves a potion into his mouth. The boy coughs and yells that it hurts, but just moments later, he feels this rush through him. His injuries are gone. Bones straightened, bruises disappeared, his whole body feels like new in an instant. He stares at Lily, amazed, unable to wrap his head around how she could have a healing potion like that. It should be way out of reach for someone at her level. Shaking, he demands to know why she would use something so valuable on him. Lily, looking totally unfazed, just says it was because he was dying. Money wasn't even a thought. Relief and disbelief mix in him as he processes her gesture. She brushes off his surprise, saying the potion is as much a drink as it is a cure, and laughs a little, sounding more apologetic than proud. She gets up and encourages him to follow her, leading him through the forest with a steady pace. She points out that the fruits he's looking for don't actually grow around here, and warns him to keep this spot in mind for later. Gagel, still confused, asks how she knew he needed them, and Blank mentions that Rena had asked her to take on the same task. This only adds to his confusion as he realizes the receptionist is also a branch chief and must have been aware of his past failures. Then, without missing a beat, Blank asks about his mom's health, leaving him completely speechless. She explains that the fruit he's after boosts potions for strength and recovery, and it turns out that's exactly what his mom needs. Her words make him rethink everything. The guild didn't send him out here to leave him hanging. They actually cared, recognizing how hard he's been trying to support his family. Feeling overwhelmed, tears start to fill his eyes as he opens up about the fear that hit him in the forest, worrying about dying before he could help them. He suddenly remembers the snake, the way it died out of nowhere, and Blank offers that it might have just been old, which helps ease his mind a bit. Gagel thinks about reporting the whole thing to the guild, but Blank tells him that just surviving is already a win. He doesn't need to overthink it. Still, he insists on reporting it since he feels he needs to explain taking down a monster like that as an 8th-rank adventurer. He knows how scary a branch chief's anger could be. Lily watches him with mild confusion, unprepared for his seriousness as he argues, determined not to let her take the credit for his efforts.